It's a plugin for Paratext. And so I found it quite interesting. You just download it and then you run it. And then you have to run it with Paratext turned off. Or if you install it with Paratext on, you have to close Paratext and open it again. I'm going to bring Paratext over. And you click on the project. This is Paratext 9.1. And you click on the project. And now underneath tools, this didn't exist before, there's a tool called Transcelerator. And Transcelerator is a series of canned questions over text. So it's questions in English form. Of course, it opens up on the other screen. And you can see I'm in the book of Philemon. This is my example project. And so I have set I have set Transcelerator to only show the questions relating to the book of Philemon. And here's the English question. And here is the translation. And here you can mark whether or not it's confirmed. It's a good translation of the text. And you can see that it does try to prompt some, like if it pulls words, if it knows that you've translated certain words certain ways, it'll go ahead and add them in. This is not a good example because I'm using an English text with English questions and an English translation. But let's say if I were to go down to, go to Philemon 23 and 24. To whom does Paul send greetings? So I can look at Philemon 23, 24. Let's say that's the text. Then I go back to Transcelerator, and this is, I'm using a canned answer here, but it's because it's English. Who does Paul want to know he is thinking of them? And let's say we run through the review process and we think this is a good question. We hit the confirmed button. All right, so it's a confirmed question. Maybe you can't uncheck it. So, but I go through my list and I have confirmed questions. Filter, or where'd it go? File, generate checking script. And I want to do just Philemon. And now Philemon's one, it's a small book, but if it was a large book like Luke or something, I can just say sections within Philemon or other things. There are other options, appearance, just general. I'm going to hit OK. I don't have, it's just saying untranslated questions will be excluded. That's fine. I hit yes, and it brings up an HTML page, which is the script of all my confirmed questions, and then I can take this out to a village environment, and I can ask the question, and people can give the answers. So it's a good way of getting at community understanding. And if you'll look at Transcelerator, one of the interesting things about it is produce scripture forge files. So you can actually take your Transcelerator questions, generate scripture forge files, include them in your scripture forge project if you have one, and then you can open up the community checking process to whomever you've given access to your scripture forge. So you don't actually have to take your piece of paper out to wherever and ask questions. Like in a community setting, you can give it to people and they can access it over the phone or over their computer, however you have scripture forge set up if you're using it. So that's very nice. The other thing I would say about Transcelerator is I think it's actually, it can do I think it can do a lot more than what even the Transcelerator developers intended for it. So it's designed to be used as community checking. But when I think of these questions that go along with the text, I think I have a Through the Bible in 3 years Bible study set that I've used, and it breaks. It's got a reading plan. I read a section, and then it gets some questions to prompt thinking. So there's nothing saying you've already got the questions translated. There's nothing saying you can't take the same questions that you've used in Transcelerator for community checking, bundle them into some sort of Bible study product, and give it out as scripture engagement. the questions can exist outside of community checking pre-publication. It can exist inside of a Bible study program or inside of a Sunday school environment or anything of that nature. So it really can be helpful. And of course, it goes without saying that just because the question exists in Transcelerator, it doesn't mean you have to ask the question. In some other context, someone said you need to make sure it's an appropriate question. Like, well, of course, but the question's here, and you can also add your own questions. You're not stuck with what's canned. But if you're like me and have trouble coming up with things on my own, Transcelerator is there as a guide. It's a help, and maybe it can be used to spur other questions within the text to get at understanding. So that is Transcelerator, a plugin for Paratext, which can be used to assist in community checking and can be used in conjunction with the Scripture Forge project. So that is that.